Hey CFMA, my name's Rebekah Kuller. I'm the CFO at Nielsen Builders, a general contractor in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Recently, I've been asked about things like how do you manage cash flow at your company? And as a general contractor, a lot of that is going to go back to your project cash flow. So a couple things that I do that really help me out on a kind of macro level to flow well into kind of the microcosm of cash flow management are looking at on my WIP, I'm looking at on a monthly basis, how much did we bill on each job versus what were the costs? So were we ahead or behind on a monthly basis? Obviously those will roll into your under and overbillings in the long term, and then I'm going to be asking a lot of questions as to why we were ahead or why we were behind on each month. Another thing that I'm comparing is my accounts receivable on each job to the accounts payable or subcontract accounts payable for that job for the month, so that I know when I get paid that draw, how much is about to go out the door. Is it going to be more? Is it going to be less? And how is that going to roll up to impact my company cash flow? As the jobs go on, I'm also comparing what is my retention receivable on each job versus my retention payable. You may have different terms going on in those places, so that helps me kind of know if we get paid retention, maybe we're going to have more go out the door than we had held on us, and maybe we're going to have, in most normal cases, less. So what is that, what is that impact of getting paid retention at the end of a job going to do to my company? All of those metrics lead to a ratio called cash demand, and that's one of my favorite things to look at as a CFO and with my executive team. In that kind of metric, you're comparing your accounts receivable and adding in your retention receivable and your underbilling. So those are all places where other people are borrowing from you or where you're financing the project. You're going to compare that to your accounts payable, your retention payable, and your overbillings. And those are places where you're borrowing from others to finance the project. If you add up those AR metrics and subtract those AP metrics, you should get a negative number. And the negative number is indicating how much you're borrowing on a project versus others are borrowing from you. And that hopefully is in your bank account as cash, because it's ultimately going to be cash you're going to have to pay out. So when I look at those things, CFMA, that helps me get my arms around, my entire WIP and projects and cash flow, and understand the health of my business. So thanks for joining.